Hello. So I'm actually going to see what this turns out to be, but I'm going to click record on like a podcast. Hello and welcome to a little mindset chat. So something that way too many people forget, especially women, I find, is that not only are we so hard on ourselves, but it's almost like if it's not perfect, it's not enough. If we're not serving other people and pleasing other people, then what's the point? If, like, I know I did this with one of the girls in the group and got them to list out everything that makes them happy, everything that they feel fulfills them. And it's funny how many of the long list that she wrote were centered around making other people happy and in a way that other people say positive things about her. It was all externally driven, it was all external motivation. And we find it so easy to praise other people. We find it so easy to pick other people up when they're feeling down, talk them through it. But when it comes to ourselves, we only bastardize any efforts that we made and say it's not enough. It's not good enough. I could have done more. And something else is how would you talk to your best friend? I bet it wouldn't be anything like the way that you talk to yourself. How about with your daughter? The way that your daughter speaks about food and her body and everything around it is like, even if you don't have a daughter, imagine it. Is that something that you would want her to be doing? And you can tell her how to act all you like. You can try to bring your daughter up the right way, whatever that is to you, but that won't mean anything in comparison to what she absorbs from your body language and what she sees. And I learned this just from watching how easily someone's daughter was just mimicking everything that the mum did. And I know it's not really the same thing, but the same with the dogs. Like, they respond to your attitude. And even in conversations that I have with other people, it's like, it's almost like cravings in itself, where they have a tantrum, you give into that tantrum, or you let that tantrum get you down, and then you add to that tantrum with your own emotions, your own fuel. You start yelling at the top of your voice, they start yelling even louder, and then all of a sudden it's just like it's catastrophe. And you can relate that to cravings. You get the craving, and then you decide to give into that craving, and then that's what you teach them every single time that you get a tantrum. This is the way that I'm expected to respond, which is the cravings kind of thing. But winding back to the whole start of this conversation, which is how we treat ourselves in any one moment, how we do one thing is how we do everything. And if you're going to call yourself a piece of shit every single time that you don't do what you said you're going to do, or if you start saying, oh, you're pathetic, you always do this, you're broken, what's wrong with you? I can't believe you didn't do it this way. What's wrong with you? You didn't do enough, blah, blah, blah. I can't believe you said you were going to do this, but you didn't even do it. Like, what? Like, how the hell is that motivating you to change? And same again. Well, I guess it's not even there talking to yourself the way that you did, but it's what led up to it, because we shoot ourselves in the foot before we start. We don't give ourselves things to actually action out. Oh, I want to do this. I might do this. I maybe might doing this. I'm gonna get my shit together and start eating properly again. I'm gonna aim to move more. Everything is to the metric of more or better or not as bad or whatever it is. It's like you're not even giving it a metric. You're not even giving it something to scale by. You're not even giving it something to be able to tick a checkbox off. Like, I'm gonna do better than I did today tomorrow. Or I'm gonna get my stuff together and start cleaning up my food. I'm gonna start eating healthier. That is the stupidest goal ever. eating healthier, eating cleaner. Like I'm laying it out there because sometimes we need to be a little bit more stricter with ourselves in the process of setting something up so that we can start to practice self-compassion in that same breath. Because you cannot have self-compassion without discipline. And discipline does not exist without self-compassion. It's the yin yang, the black, the white, the thing with the circles. Like they exist with each other. You can't have one without the other. You can't have discipline without having self-compassion, otherwise you're going to be doing what I said at the very beginning, which is beating yourself up. And you can't just have self-compassion because then you're just winging things off and hoping for the better and never actually doing shit. And that's when you need that harsh fish slap in the face, which I like to call it. So whenever you're actually doing that to yourself, just imagine me with a big wet fish. You know how on dating sites there's those guys that hold like those big fishes and they're just like, this is my fish. This is a reason to date me. I've never understood that shit. But now I'm holding one myself. And it's not to get some guy into my profile because I'm not going fishing. I'm slapping. And I'm going to slap you every time you talk negative to yourself. And I'm going to slap you every single time you promise yourself something and let yourself down, because every single time that you break a promise, you are reinforcing a negative feedback loop to never actually do the very thing that you need to do to get to where you want to be. So stop setting yourself with ridiculous goals like level 10 when you're already level 1. Like, I don't care if you're friggin' 40 years old. I don't care if you're 50. I don't care if you're 30. I don't care if you're 25. I don't care if you've been trying to do this with 100 other coaches, 100 other programs. I don't care how much experience you've had. You are a beginner in trying to action whatever it is you are trying to action, because if you weren't a beginner and trying to action it, you would be doing it already. And I don't care if it's as simple as getting your water up from 1 liter to 2 liters. That's massive for someone who's never been able to implement 2 liters before. That is where that compassion comes in, but the discipline comes in you actually sitting down with yourself, getting like doing an audit and being like, where am I falling short? Because that's when the domino effect happens. I get a good sleep. I'm willing to wake up, but a lot of the time you're not going to want to wake up in the morning. I never want to wake up as soon as my alarm goes off, but I use my 5-minute rule. So I set 3 alarms, and sometimes I don't hear the first one, luckily, that I hear the second one, but I set 3 alarms and they're 5 minutes apart, because if I don't get up on that first one that I hear, there is no way I'm sleeping in past the second. And the third one is just there because that is me wanting to reward myself. So when that alarm goes off and I'm not in bed, I reward myself. Yes, I've been doing this for friggin' months, and I still reward myself for being up out of bed by the time that second alarm goes off, which is the third alarm. And if I get up on the first one, then I reward myself twice. That's 2 bloody times I just boasted my ego. You need to reward yourself along the process. And just because you've started doing a habit consistently, you do not stop filling in those gaps. And I have this rule with bricks where you're setting the bricks. I have a bricks and chains video that I did for my own girls in this group, in my group. But you're creating bricks and you're creating layers with every single thing that you do to create your best self. And anything can fall through the cracks if you ain't gonna silicon them up. And that is where you repeating the habits comes in. That is the silicon, whatever the friggin' white stuff is called between bricks. I'm not a construction carpenter, bricklayer. I used to think carpenters do carpet. That's hilarious. But anyway, back to what I was saying. I'm not a builder. There we go. I'm not a construction worker. I'm not a builder. I don't know what that white stuff's called. Let's just call it white stuff between the bricks. We don't want shit to fall through the cracks. So you need to keep doing that work so that you don't build this massive thing and then all of a sudden it's going to be a rainy day, just like COVID came, and all of a sudden you have nothing left because everything just fell through the cracks because you didn't keep doing the little things that actually keep you moving forward. And if you're not going to set parameters on yourself, you're shooting in the air. You're fighting in the clouds like one of those drowning rats. And you're never going to get anywhere because you're drowning. You're not aiming for anything. You're not swimming the lap of the pool. You're too busy doing this because you haven't given yourself somewhere to swim to. Same thing. Like, For example, you have a boss. Your boss tells you that you need to get this thing done. Actually, no, let's relate it to school. You're at school, you have an assignment to do. Hey, girls, here's an assignment. No date, no nothing, just here's an assignment. Are you going to bother doing that assignment if you don't even know when it's due and if it's even something you need to do? And I know because there was a course that I did that had an assignment to do that was like this freaking big. Like it was huge. And I just looked at it and I'm like, there's no due date on this thing. I don't even know if I have to do it because the course is ongoing and you can literally pop into the course every single friggin' month and do a unit, and it's still going right now. But you didn't need to do the actual case study as long as you were learning along the process because that's all they cared about. But if you're not going to hold yourself up to submitting that course, you're not going to do it. But if you're like, okay, it's due on this date, you are more likely to get it done by that date because there's going to be consequences. And one of my coaching friends who I want to get on my podcast eventually very soon is he said, you need incentives for the change that you want to make. And I loved it because the incentive can be negative or positive. You don't do something and then you need to have, like, there's innate consequences as it is. But if you're actually going to incentivize yourself internally and stop rewarding yourself with food, there is no such thing. Get yourself a friggin' face mask or just even internally. Like you need to reflect on how this is going to help you moving forward. And this is something that will relate to every single part of your life. Because going to the gym creates structure. Like I'm still trying to restructure the way that I go about things. Because the way that I do things now is I try to wake up at 4:30. I'm usually up by 4:40. Like I said, my 5-minute rule, 4:40. And then I get shit ready and I'm usually at the computer by like 5:30. And then I do a little bit of my work. Sometimes I respond to messages and then I'm at the gym by 7:30. And then I do my session, I do my walk while I'm working, and then I'm usually home by 11:30. But the way that I want to change things requires me getting uncomfortable at first, fucking up a few times, playing around with things without any certainty. And that's the thing with the human brain. The human brain loves certainty. And there is no certainty or proof that this is going to work for me. So why would I want to try if I don't know if it's going to work? And that's the thing if we relate it to everything else. We don't know. We don't have proof of it because we haven't done it before. And you're not going to know until you start doing the thing consistently. And you're going to hate yourself through that process if you're negative through it and you're hating your way through it and you're only doing it for an outcome versus how you will feel doing it and why it's going to benefit you. The timing of that. Fearlessly. So my wanting is to get up and to not respond to messages in the morning, to leave all the messages that I get from clients, from whatever, leave them there. Whenever this does happen, which I'm still figuring out how it's going to work with everything, but when it does happen, that's the way I want it to go. I have the image in my head and I know how it's going to serve my day. And it can allow me to be more productive. But I don't know until I try it consistently. Because right now it's just managing my energy with it and my strength with it because I've always done it this way. Just like you've always done your shit your way. And that's the thing that relates to everything in life. But you, just because you don't have proof in this element that this is how this worked, there's proof in other things that you've done well when you've applied it consistently. And we were so good at this when we were kids, when we were sponges learning things, when we were kids learning, well, babies learning to walk. Like shit just came easier to us then. And now it's just a social construct that stops us from doing the same learning patterns over and failing. And I wanted to finish this in 15 minutes.